Stop. Everything you think you know about the book of Revelation is wrong. For centuries we've been told it's a script for doomsday, a countdown to destruction. But that is not the truth. I know the feeling. You read about the beasts, the fire, the judgment, and you feel anxiety. Maybe you've even been too afraid to open the last book of the Bible because you think it's a warning of hopelessness. But what if Revelation isn't a book of fear, but a love letter written in code? The word apocalypse doesn't mean the end. It actually means the unveiling. In this video, I will unlock the hidden truth that changes everything. By the end of these 10 minutes, you will stop fearing the future and start seeing the victory. Let's dive in. Let's be honest. When you hear the word apocalypse, what do you see? Do you see zombies, asteroids, the end of the world? That is the Hollywood definition, designed to sell tickets. It is not the biblical definition. The book of Revelation was written in ancient Greek, and the very first word of the book is apocalypsis. It comes from two root words, apo, meaning away, and calypsis, meaning a veil or a covering. Literally, it means to take away the veil. Imagine a grand wedding. The bride is covered by a veil. The groom waits. The moment he lifts that veil, that is an apocalypsis. It is not a moment of destruction. It is a moment of intimacy and revelation. So what is being unveiled? Read verse 1 again. It says, the revelation of Jesus Christ. It is not the revelation of Satan. It is not the revelation of nuclear war. It is God pulling back the curtain of history to show us that Jesus is on the throne, right now. Once you understand this, the fear disappears. Instead of looking for signs of doom, you start looking for the face of Christ. But why did John use such terrifying symbols? Dragons? Beasts? The number 666? The answer lies in Roman history. Let me explain. To understand the symbols, we must look at the author and the context. John was a prisoner on the island of Patmos. His crime? Preaching Jesus. The Roman Empire was brutal. Christians were being fed to lions. If John wrote a letter saying, Rome will fall, the emperor is evil, the guards would destroy it, and John would be executed instantly. So he did what any resistance leader would do. He wrote in code. The dragons, the beasts, the horns. These weren't hallucinations. They were political cartoons. To a Roman guard, it looked like a fairy tale. But to a first-century Christian, it was a clear message about their reality. Let's decode the scariest one. The beast. Revelation 13 describes a beast rising out of the sea. It demands worship. It has power. In the first century, power came from across the sea to Israel. It was the Roman Empire. The emperors demanded to be worshipped as gods. If you refused, you died. The Bible even gives us a geographic clue. Revelation 17:9 says the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Ask any historian. In the ancient world, there was only one city known as the City on 7 Hills. It was Rome. John wasn't talking about a future monster. He was talking about the present enemy. So why does this matter to you today? Because John's message was not run away. It was stand firm. He was telling them, the empire looks scary, the beast looks invincible, but look closer. In the end, the beast is defeated not by a bigger beast, but by a lamb, Jesus. So what does this mean for you today? You may not be facing the Roman Empire, but you have your own beasts, financial debt, sickness, depression, fear of the future. The message of Revelation is simple. Whatever your beast is, it does not have the final word. The Lamb does. Stop reading Revelation as a scary puzzle to solve. Start reading it as a promise to trust. It is the unveiling of the one who loves you, holding the keys to history and holding your life in his hands. You are safe. However, I know you still have one big question. If this is a book of hope, why is there the number 666? Is it a microchip? A barcode? Is it hidden in the vaccine? No. The truth about 666 is much simpler and much more shocking than any conspiracy theory. It wasn't a prediction of modern technology. It was a mathematical riddle that people in the 1st century understood perfectly. And once you crack this code, you will never fear this number again. Do not let fear control you for one more second. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. In the next video, we will decode 666 together and reveal the name behind the number. Comment "No fear" below if you are ready for the truth. We have unveiled the secret of the word apocalypsis together. It is not a story of destruction, but a love letter, a revelation of hope. But how can the hope of an ancient scroll touch our anxious hearts in the 21st century? Amidst the chaos of modern life, when bills pile up, when sickness lurks, and loneliness surrounds us, we often feel as though we are walking through a dark tunnel with no exit. But revelation is not a threat of a dead end. It is the light from the end of the tunnel shining back to guide us right now. The words of Jesus are never just for the past or a distant future. They are always the living bread for today. Below are 10 profound philosophies distilled from the spirit of the book of Revelation, retold through intimate dialogues between Jesus and the people of ancient times. May they become a bridge, bringing peace from the throne of God right into your living room. 1. Fear does not come from the darkness itself, but from not seeing the hand holding you within it. When we do not know what lies ahead, job loss, economic recession, or a medical diagnosis, our minds paint monsters. The unveiling, apocalypsis, exists to show us that even in the worst-case scenario, God is still in control. Peace is not the absence of the storm, but the presence of Jesus within the storm. Darkness covered the Sea of Galilee. The wind howled as if to tear the small boat apart. The disciples, seasoned fishermen, trembled as they clung to the sides, water soaking their faces. Jesus walked calmly toward them, not on the swaying deck, but upon the raging waves themselves. Peter screamed over the wind, "Lord, we are perishing! The sea wants to swallow us!" Jesus reached out his hand, his voice resonating louder than the thunder. "Why are you afraid, O you of little faith? What do you see? The high waves or my hand reaching out? The beast of the sea may roar, but it is merely the path for me to walk to you." 2. The greatest victory is not won by the power of the beast, but by the meekness of the Lamb. The world teaches us that to survive, we must be strong, ruthless, and return an eye for an eye. We fear that if we are gentle, we will be crushed. But Revelation reveals a great paradox. The beast uses power to dominate, but eventually collapses. The Lamb uses love to sacrifice, and ultimately wins. True strength is the ability to maintain goodness in a brutal world. Under the shade of an olive tree, a Roman soldier passed by, looking at the crowd with contempt. John, the son of thunder, clenched his fists and whispered to the Lord, "Master, when will we overthrow them? When will you call down fire from heaven to consume this brutal empire as Elijah did?" Jesus looked at John, his eyes holding no anger, only deep compassion. "John, do you wish to defeat them by becoming like them? If we use the sword to counter the sword, we only create another beast. Look, a kernel of wheat must fall to the ground and die to produce many seeds. My victory is not in taking the lives of enemies, but in laying down my life for them. That is a power Rome will never understand. 3. What you mistake for the end is merely the moment the curtain rises to reveal a brilliant beginning. We often panic when a door closes, a broken relationship, a collapsed career. We call it the apocalypse of our lives, but in God's eyes, it is an unveiling. He clears away the old and temporary to make room for the new and eternal. Do not cry because the curtain falls. Wait to see what is appearing behind it. Mary Magdalene sat on the ground, weeping outside the empty tomb. To her, the sky had fallen. Hope was dead. They have taken my Lord away, and I do not know where they have laid him, she sobbed to the gardener, standing nearby. The man gently called her name. Mary. She looked up, and in that moment, her doomsday vanished. Jesus smiled. Why do you weep for the living among the dead? Did you think the cross was the end? No, Mary. It was only the door. Your pain yesterday was just labor pains. Look, a new world has just been born right now. 4. Your value does not lie in the mark the world stamps on you, but in the new name I give you. Society today labels us successful, failure, rich, useless. We fear that without these marks, we cannot exist, like not being able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast. But Jesus reminds us that your security and value depend not on the economy or social approval, but on the one who bought you at a very high price. Zacchaeus, the short tax collector, climbed down from the sycamore tree, trembling before the judging eyes of the crowd. They called him traitor, sinner. Jesus walked up, looking not at his money bag or his status, but straight into his shrinking soul. Zacchaeus, come down immediately. Today I must stay at your house. When Zacchaeus stood before him, the Lord spoke softly. They call you by names full of contempt, and you believed them, didn't you? You think you are only worth the money you collect. But I see a different man in you. I will give you a white stone, and on it written a new name that only I and you know. Do not fear the marks of the world. You belong to me. 5. Judgment is not uncontrolled rage, but the necessary cleansing act of a love that seeks to protect purity. We often fear the judgment of God. But think about it. If you were a father and saw your child being bullied or poisoned, would you sit still? The judgment in Revelation is God saying, "Enough," to evil, injustice, and suffering. It is good news for those who are hurting, that justice will finally be served. In the noisy temple courts, where money changers were exploiting the poor, Jesus braided a whip and overturned the tables. The crowd stepped back in terror. A disciple timidly asked, "Master, do you not teach love? Why are you so angry?" Jesus stopped, his breathing heavy, but his eyes resolute. It is because of love that I must be angry. If I love this house, can I let it turn into a den of robbers? If I love these poor people, can I let them be exploited forever? My judgment is not to destroy people, but to destroy the disease that is killing people. I am cleaning up so that love has a place to reign. 6. Do not try to decode the future to control it. Trust the one who holds the future to find peace. Humans are obsessed with knowing the future. What is 6? When is the end? We think knowledge brings safety. But Jesus teaches that safety comes not from knowing what is coming, but knowing who is coming. Peace is letting go of the need to control everything and holding the hand of the guide. On the Mount of Olives, the disciples surrounded Jesus, anxiously asking, "Master, when will these things happen? What will be the sign?" They wanted a schedule, a detailed map. Jesus looked down at Jerusalem, then looked into each of their eyes. You worry about tomorrow, about wars, about famine. You want to know the day and hour to prepare a shelter. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Tomorrow will have its own worries. What you need is not a map, but a guide. If you hold my hand tight, whether passing through the valley of the shadow of death or standing before the throne of Rome, you will still be at peace. I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am at the beginning, and I also wait for you at the destination. 7. The door to heaven is never closed to those who knock, but it only opens for those willing to drop the heavy baggage of the world. We often feel heaven is far away, and God is too holy for our mistakes. But the image of the door opened in heaven, in Revelation, is an invitation. However, the gate is narrow not because God makes it hard for us, but because we carry too many worries, ambitions, and sins. Only when we let go can we pass through. A rich young man walked away sorrowful because he could not give up his possessions. Peter watched him, puzzled. Lord, then who can be saved? The door to the kingdom is too narrow. Jesus smiled, pointing to a child running into his arms. The door is not narrow for this child, Peter. He carries no fame, no arrogance, no burden of wealth. He carries only trust. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in. The problem is not that I lock the door against you, but that your hands are too busy holding on to perishable things to open the door for me. 8. The call is not to escape the world, but to overcome the world right where you stand. Many think Christianity is about escaping reality, waiting to go to heaven. But the message to the 7 churches is a call to face and overcome. Even if you are in the hardest place, where Satan has his throne, God wants you to be the light there. Victory is not leaving the battle, but keeping the faith amidst the battle. During the Last Supper, the atmosphere was heavy. The disciples knew the Master was going away. They whispered, "Lord, take us with you. This world is too evil. We do not want to stay here." Jesus raised the cup, looking at them with steady eyes. "I do not ask the Father to take you out of the world, but to keep you from the evil one. You are the light of the world. Does anyone light a lamp and hide it? Where it is darkest, that is where you are needed most. Do not fear. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world, and through me you too shall be overcomers. 9. Worship is not a religious ritual, but the ultimate weapon to restore order to a chaotic soul. Why is Revelation filled with songs and worship? Not because God needs flattery, but because when we look up and worship, we position ourselves correctly. We realize we are small, our problems are small, and God is the Great One. Worship is how we regain our sanity in a crazy world. A Samaritan woman at the well argued with Jesus, "Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem. So which is right?" Jesus replied, "Woman, the hour is coming when worship will no longer be limited by geography or ritual. The Father seeks those who worship in spirit and truth. When you truly worship, you no longer see the dry well. You no longer see your broken past. You will see the giver of living water. Worship is when your heart turns in the right direction, and when that happens, all the broken pieces of your life will automatically be reordered. 10. Do not wait for heaven after death. Let my kingdom begin to sprout in your heart today. The image of the New Jerusalem coming down from heaven to earth shows the final destination is the harmony between heaven and earth. We do not need to wait until our last breath to find happiness. Right now, when you forgive, when you love, when you are at peace in the storm, heaven has touched earth right in your heart. A Pharisee asked Jesus with a challenge, "When is the kingdom of God coming? We have waited too long." Jesus pointed to the man's chest. The kingdom of God does not come with signs to be observed, nor will they say, "Look, here it is," or "There." For behold, the kingdom of God is in the midst of you. When you feed the hungry, the kingdom is there. When you forgive your enemy, the kingdom is there. Stop looking at the distant sky. Look at the seed of love sprouting in your heart. That is the beginning of eternity. 11. Silence from God is not his absence. It is the deep breath he takes before he acts on your behalf. In Revelation, there is silence in heaven for about half an hour. We often interpret silence as abandonment. When our prayers bounce off the ceiling, we panic. But Jesus teaches that silence is often a sign of intense focus, not neglect. It is the calm before the breakthrough. In a desolate place before dawn, the disciples found Jesus praying alone in the heavy silence of the wilderness. They were anxious about the crowds hunting them. "Lord, why do you stay here in the quiet while the world is shouting for you? Why does the Father not speak when we are in danger?" Jesus opened his eyes, reflecting the first light of dawn. "Do you hear the birds? They were silent all night, not because they were dead, but because they were waiting for the sun. The Father's silence is not empty, it is full. He is gathering the winds of change. When you pray and hear nothing, do not stop. That is the moment he is preparing an answer greater than you can ask for. Wait for the sun. 12. You cannot mix the cold apathy of the world with the fire of the Spirit. True life requires a choice. The message to Laodicea warns against being lukewarm. In our modern lives, we try to balance everything. A little bit of faith, a little bit of worldly compromise, to stay comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of destiny. Jesus calls us to a life of passion, where we are either fully engaged or not at all, because a divided heart cannot withstand the storm. By a stream, Jesus watched a crowd hesitating to cross because the water was rushing. They dipped their toes in, but pulled back, shivering. He turned to a young follower who was trying to serve both the Romans and the resistance. You try to walk down the middle of the road to stay safe, but the middle is where you get run over. You want the peace of the kingdom, but the pleasures of the empire. My child, fire and water cannot mix without destroying each other. Do not be afraid to burn for what is right. It is better to be rejected by the world and held by me than to be accepted by everyone and lose yourself. 13. Your tears are not wasted water. They are the seeds that water the garden of your future joy. God will wipe away every tear. This isn't just a promise for the afterlife. It's a perspective for today. We treat grief as an error, something to get over quickly. But Jesus views tears as a necessary part of the healing and rebuilding process. Sorrow carves out the space in your soul where joy will eventually reside. Outside the village of Nain, a funeral procession passed by. A mother wept uncontrollably for her only son. The crowd felt awkward, wishing the sadness would end. Jesus walked straight into the center of the grief. He did not tell her to stop crying. He touched the coffin. "Weep, daughter, for your heart is breaking," he said softly. "But know this, these tears are not falling into the void. The Father catches every drop. You see death, but I see a sleep. You see an end, but I see a sowing. Your sorrow today is the soil for a miracle tomorrow. Arise, young man. 14. True worthiness is not found in being a lion that conquers, but in being a lamb that sacrifices. In the heavenly vision, John looks for a lion, but sees a lamb. We spend our lives trying to be lions, powerful, successful, dominant, thinking that will make us worthy. We hide our vulnerabilities. Jesus flips the script. Your power lies in your willingness to be vulnerable, to serve, and to love, even when it hurts. The disciples were arguing on the road about who was the greatest, showing off their strength and achievements. Jesus sat down and called a small, shy child to him. He looked at the strong, proud men. You look for a king who will crush your enemies with a fist of iron. You want to be lions, but the kingdom is unlocked by a lamb, the one who is willing to lay down his pride, his rights, and his life for his brother. He is the one who holds the scroll of history. The world is changed not by the power that takes, but by the love that gives. 15. The tree of life is not a distant myth. It is available wherever you choose to bring healing to others. Revelation describes the leaves of the tree as being for the healing of the nations. We often wait for a miracle cure for our broken society. Jesus teaches that we are the branches of that tree. Every time you offer forgiveness, every time you help a neighbor, you are dispensing the leaves of the tree of life in a dying world. A leper stood at a distance, ringing a bell to warn people of his unclean status. He was cut off from the source of life, from community. Jesus did the unthinkable. He reached out and touched the diseased skin before healing it. The disciples gasped. Jesus looked at them. You wait for the paradise of Eden to return, but the tree of life is standing right here. Every time you touch the untouchable, every time you speak kindness to the rejected, you are planting Eden in the wasteland. Do not wait for heaven to heal the nations. Start with the neighbor standing in front of you. 16. Do not build your house in Babylon, for the city of greed is built on sand that will surely shift. Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. We are constantly tempted to build our identity on wealth, status, and economic security. But these systems are fragile. Jesus invites us to invest in the New Jerusalem, a kingdom built on relationships and righteousness, which is the only investment that survives a crash. A wealthy merchant boasted to Jesus about his new barns and the security of his trade routes with Rome. I have enough for many years, he laughed. Jesus looked at him with a gaze that pierced through the fine linen. You have built a magnificent castle, but you have built it on the back of a sleeping dragon. When the earth shakes, and it will, what will happen to your gold? It will sink like a millstone into the sea. There is a city not made by hands, built on the love you share and the mercy you show. Transfer your treasures there, before the market here collapses. 17. The accuser has been thrown down. Stop listening to the voice that lists your failures. Revelation tells us the accuser of our brothers is defeated. Yet, many of us live with a constant inner monologue of guilt and shame. We replay our mistakes. Jesus wants us to know that the voice condemning us is not his. His voice is the advocate, not the accuser. A woman caught in the act of adultery was thrown at Jesus' feet. The accusers stood ready with stones, listing her sins, shouting her shame. Jesus wrote in the dust, silence filling the air until the accusers left one by one. He lifted her chin. Where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, Lord," she whispered. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus said firmly. "The voice that shouts your shame has been silenced by mercy. Do not let it speak in your head anymore. Go and leave your chains behind." 18. You are invited to the wedding feast, not because you are perfect, but because you are wanted. We often feel we need to clean up our lives before we can approach God. We feel unworthy of the celebration. The wedding supper of the Lamb is a gathering of the broken who have been made whole. Jesus reminds us that the invitation is based on the host's generosity, not the guest's wardrobe. Jesus told a story to the religious leaders who prided themselves on their purity. A king prepared a wedding feast for his son, but the invited guests, the important and busy ones, made excuses. They were too worthy in their own eyes. He leaned in close. So the king said, "Go to the streets and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. You think you need to be perfect to sit at my table? No, you just need to be hungry. The table is set for those who know they cannot feed themselves. Come, the banquet is ready." 19. I make all things new. Your past is not a life sentence, but a canvas for redemption. We often think our mistakes define us forever. I am a failure. I am divorced. I am an addict. But the one who sits on the throne speaks in the present tense. I am making everything new. It is a continuous process. Jesus doesn't just patch up the old. He creates something entirely different from the ashes of the past. Peter sat by the charcoal fire, the smell reminding him of the night he denied Jesus 3 times. He felt his mistake was final. He was no longer a leader. He was a traitor. The resurrected Jesus stood before him, not to bring up the past, but to assign a future. "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" "You know I do, Lord." "Then feed my sheep," Jesus said. "You think your failure disqualified you? No, Peter. It prepared you. It broke your pride so I could use your heart. I am making you new right now. You are no longer the denier. You are the rock." 20. Look for the morning star in the darkest part of your night. Dawn is inevitable. In Revelation, Jesus calls himself the bright morning star. The morning star appears when the night is coldest and darkest, just before sunrise. When you feel you can't hold on any longer, that is the sign that the breakthrough is near. Hope is not a feeling. It is the certainty of the dawn. The storm on the lake was at its worst during the 4th watch of the night, the darkest hour just before morning. The disciples were exhausted from rowing against the wind. Then they saw him walking on the water. Jesus climbed into the boat, and the wind died down. "You thought the darkness would last forever," he said, "but the night is always darkest, just before the sun breaks through. I am the morning star. When you see me, you know the day is coming. Never give up on the verge of your miracle." 21. Endurance is not just gritting your teeth. It is the patience of the saints that waits with active trust. We mistake patience for passivity, but in Revelation, patience is an active force. It is endurance. It means standing your ground when everything tries to move you. Jesus teaches that true character is forged not in the easy times, but in the long, quiet seasons of waiting and trusting. In the Garden of Gethsemane, the disciples slept while Jesus wrestled with destiny. "Could you not watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked them gently. "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." Endurance is not about how strong you are when the sun is shining. It is about staying awake when your soul wants to sleep. It is continuing to pray when the answer hasn't come yet. That is the patience that wins the crown. 22. Your story is the weapon that overcomes the enemy, the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. We think we need theological arguments to win battles. But Revelation says the enemy is defeated by your testimony. Your personal story of pain, struggle, and survival is unanswerable. Jesus encourages us to own our stories, for they are the proof of God's power in a skeptical world. A man born blind was healed, and the religious authorities interrogated him, trying to trap him in theological debates. "Give glory to God. We know this man Jesus is a sinner," they demanded. The man didn't argue theology. He simply stated his reality. "Whether he is a sinner or not, I do not know," he replied. "One thing I do know. I was blind, but now I see." Jesus later found him and said, "They can argue with your logic, but they cannot argue with your life. Your story is the rock that shatters their glass houses. Keep telling it." 23. Do not fear the second death. Fear a life that never truly lived for God. Revelation speaks of the second death as the final separation from God. This sounds terrifying, but Jesus flips the focus. The antidote to the fear of death is not safety. It is life, eternal life starting now. When you are alive in Him, death is merely a change of address. Lazarus had died. Martha ran to Jesus, weeping, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Jesus looked at her with intense assurance. "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die." Do you believe this, Martha? Death is a shadow for those who walk in the light. Do not fear the end of the body. Fear a soul that has never awakened to the love of the Father. 24. There is no more sea, because the separation between you and God has been removed forever. To the ancient Jewish mind, the sea represented chaos, danger, and separation. Revelation 21 says, "And there was no longer any sea." This means the distance is gone. Jesus came to bridge the gap. We no longer need to shout across the ocean to a distant God. He is closer than our own breath. On the beach after the resurrection, Jesus cooked breakfast for his friends. There was no more storm, no more distance, no more sea of doubt between them. He handed bread to Peter. "Do you remember when you sank in the water because you looked at the wind? In my Father's house, there is no more sea to separate us, no more chaos to drown you. We are on solid ground now. Eat and know that I am with you always, to the very end of the age." 25. You are the temple of God. He does not dwell in stone buildings, but in the broken and contrite heart. We often look for God in grand cathedrals or successful ministries. But Revelation describes a city with no temple, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. Jesus teaches that the holiest place on earth is the human heart that invites him in. You are the sacred space. The disciples pointed out the magnificent stones of the temple in Jerusalem, awestruck by its grandeur. Jesus said, "Do you see all these great buildings? Not one stone here will be left on another. But do not mourn for the building. Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days. I am speaking of the temple of the body. And you, my friends, are the living stones. God is done living in boxes made by men. He has chosen to make his home in your chest. Keep that house clean." 26. God measures his temple not to judge its size, but to mark it for protection. In Revelation 11, John is told to measure the temple. In the Bible, what you measure, you claim as your own to protect. When you feel small or insignificant, remember that God has measured you. He knows every hair on your head. You are marked as His property under His sovereign protection. A widow put 2 small copper coins into the temple treasury. The rich put in large amounts, making loud noises. Jesus called His disciples, "Look at her. The world measures by quantity. I measure by sacrifice. She has put in more than all the others. The world does not see her, but I have measured her heart. She is mine, and what belongs to me, I will guard with my life. You are not defined by how much you have, but by who has you." 27. The white horse rides en tour. Not to bring war, but to bring the final truth that cuts through all lies. We live in a world of fake news and deception. It's exhausting. The rider on the white horse is called faithful and true. Jesus reminds us that in the end, truth will prevail. We don't need to defend ourselves or manipulate outcomes. We just need to align with the truth, and the truth will fight our battles. Pilate stood before Jesus, cynical and powerful, asking, "What is truth?" He thought truth was determined by politics and power. Jesus stood silent, the embodiment of truth. He knew that Pilate's empire would crumble, but his words would never pass away. Later, he told his disciples, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. The world fights with lies and manipulation, but I ride on truth. It is a sword that cuts through every chain. Stick to the truth, even when it costs you, and you will find yourself on the winning side." 28. The gates of the New Jerusalem are never shut by day. Grace is always accessible. We often think we have missed our chance with God. We think the deadline has passed. But the gates of the city are never shut. This is a radical picture of God's unceasing availability. It is never too late to come home, no matter how far you have wandered. The prodigal son stood at the edge of his father's farm, smelling of pigs, rehearsing his apology. He feared the gate would be locked, but the father was already running toward him. Jesus told the crowd, "The father didn't wait for the son to knock. He ran." The gates of my kingdom are not locked to keep you out. They are open to welcome you in. Day or night, winter or summer, the entrance is open. The only thing keeping you outside is your own hesitation to believe that you are still loved. 29. The water of life is free. Stop trying to buy what can only be given. We exhaust ourselves trying to earn love, earn status, earn peace. We think everything has a price tag. Revelation ends with the Spirit and the bride saying, "Come, take the free gift of the water of life." Jesus teaches that the most valuable things in existence, grace, love, salvation, cannot be bought. They must be received. It was the last and greatest day of the festival. People were pouring water on the altar, performing rituals, trying to earn God's favor. Jesus stood and shouted to the crowd, "Let anyone who is thirsty come to me and drink. You work so hard for water that leaves you thirsty again. Why do you spend money on what is not bread? The water I give becomes a spring welling up to eternal life. It is free. Put down your money, put down your pride, and just drink." 30. "Come, Lord Jesus," is not a cry of escape, but a declaration of allegiance in the present. The Bible ends with Maranatha. Come, Lord Jesus. This isn't just about wishing to leave this world. It's a prayer inviting His rule and reign into this moment. It means, "Come, Lord, into my marriage. Come into my finances. Come into my anxiety. It is living with the expectancy that he can show up at any second. After the resurrection, before he ascended, the disciples asked, "Lord, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom?" Jesus replied, "It is not for you to know the times or dates, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you. Do not stand here looking into the sky. Go. Live as if I am returning today. Work as if I am watching you now." Maranatha is not just a prayer for the future. It is a way to live right now. I am with you always. 31. History is not a runaway train of chaos. It is a scroll held firmly in the hands of the only one worthy to open it. We look at the news, wars, pandemics, political unrest, and feel that the world is spinning out of control. We panic because we think no one is driving. But Revelation 5 shows us a scroll sealed with 7 seals held by the Lamb. Jesus teaches us that history has a script, and he is the director. The chaos is not random. It is leading to a resolution. The disciples watched the Roman legions marching into Jerusalem, their armor gleaming, their power overwhelming. They felt small and helpless. "Lord, Rome is too strong," they whispered. "The world is going mad. Is God asleep?" Jesus picked up a small scroll from the synagogue table and held it tight. "Do you see this? It is written, 'Not a single sparrow falls to the ground outside of my Father's will.' You see the horses and the chariots, but I see the seals breaking. The script is already written, and the ending is victory. Do not fear the actors on the stage. Trust the author of the play." 32. You are sealed before the storm hits. You cannot be lost in the crowd because you are marked by the King. Before the winds of judgment blow, in Revelation 7, God's servants are sealed on their foreheads. We often suffer from an identity crisis, fearing we are just a number, easily replaceable or forgotten. Jesus reminds us that we are marked property. When you belong to him, you are spiritually fireproof. A shepherd was counting his sheep as they entered the pen. One was missing. The storm was coming over the hills. "It is just one sheep, Lord," a bystander said. "Let it go." Jesus shook his head. "I know my own, and my own know me. I do not count them as a group. I call them by name. I have marked them. When the storm comes, I do not lock the door to keep myself safe. I go out to find the one that is mine. You are sealed. The wolf may howl, but he cannot erase my mark on you." 33. Your prayers are not disappearing into the void. They are the incense that fills the throne room of God. In Revelation chapter 8, the prayers of the saints rise like incense, and then power is released on earth. We often feel our prayers are weak, repetitive, or unanswered. We think they hit the ceiling. Jesus teaches that prayer is the fuel for divine intervention. Your whispered brokenness is loud in heaven. A widow knelt in the dust, praying for justice against a judge who ignored her. She had no money, no voice, no influence. The disciples tried to usher her away. "The master is busy," they said. Jesus stopped them. "Listen, do you hear that?" "Hear what, Lord?" "She is just whispering." "To you, it is a whisper," Jesus said. "To heaven, it is thunder." Her prayer is mixing with the fire of the altar right now. Never despise the prayer of the broken. It is the only thing powerful enough to move the hand that moves the universe. 34. Do not seek hidden manna in the applause of the crowd. Seek it in the quiet intimacy of the secret place. To the church in Pergamum, Jesus promises hidden manna. We live in a world of likes and public validation. We starve for attention. But the sustenance that truly feeds the soul is found in secret, in the quiet moments where only God sees you. That is where you find the strength the world knows nothing about. The crowds followed Jesus because he multiplied the bread. They wanted a king who would feed their bellies and egos. Jesus withdrew to a mountain alone. When they found him, they asked, "When did you get here?" "Feed us again." He looked at them with sadness. "You work for food that spoils. You want the bread that everyone can see. But I have food to eat that you know nothing about. The hidden manna is the communion with the Father in the silence. Stop performing for the crowd and start dining with the King. That is the only bread that will satisfy your hunger for significance. 35. You are a pillar in the temple. Stability comes not from your circumstances, but from your standing in me. I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go out no more. In a life full of instability, moving houses, changing jobs, shifting relationships, we crave permanence. Jesus promises that those who overcome will become the structural support of God's house. You don't have to fear being moved or evicted ever again. They stood amidst the ruins of a collapsed tower in Siloam. Dust and rubble were everywhere. People were shaken, realizing how fragile their buildings were. Jesus placed his hand on a trembling man's shoulder. You build with stone and cedar, and the earth shakes it apart. You build your life on money, and it flies away. But I am building a house that cannot be shaken. When you trust me, you become a pillar in that house. You will not move. You will not crumble. The world around you may fall, but you will remain standing, because you are held by the architect. 36. Your white robes are not earned by your perfection, but washed in the blood of the Lamb. We often feel dirty because of our past sins or failures. We try to scrub ourselves clean with good deeds or self-improvement. Revelation shows a multitude in white robes, made white not by bleach, but by blood. It's a paradox. Jesus teaches that purity is a gift you receive, not a status you achieve. A leper covered in rags hid his face, ashamed of his sores. He felt too filthy to be near the rabbi. Jesus walked up and touched him, clean to unclean. "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean," the man rasped. "I am willing," Jesus said. "Be clean." Then he looked at the Pharisees nearby, who were clean on the outside, but dirty on the inside. You think purity comes from washing your hands? No, it comes from washing your heart in my mercy. Your rags are gone. Put on the robe of a son. It fits you perfectly. 37. The open door. Before you is a divine setup. No man, no boss, and no enemy can shut it. See, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. We often feel blocked by a lack of connections, blocked by enemies, blocked by our own limitations. We panic when doors slam in our faces. Jesus reminds us that he holds the key of David. If he opens a destiny for you, the combined power of hell cannot close it. The disciples were terrified behind locked doors for fear of the Jewish leaders. They felt trapped, their mission over. Suddenly, Jesus stood among them, the doors still locked. "Peace be with you," he said. "Why do you look at the locks? I am the one who holds the keys of death and Hades. If the grave could not keep me in, Do you think a wooden door can keep you out? I am opening a door for you to the nations. Stop looking at the obstacles and walk through. I have already cleared the path. 38. The rod of iron is not to abuse you, but to shepherd you and protect you from the wolves. We hear rule with a rod of iron and think of a tyrant. But in shepherd culture, the rod was used to beat off wolves, not sheep. Jesus is the good shepherd who uses his strength to protect his flock. His discipline is not to harm you, but to keep you from wandering off the cliff. A hired hand ran away when a wolf appeared, leaving the sheep to scatter. Jesus gathered the trembling flock. He showed his disciples his staff. The hireling runs because he does not own the sheep. I do not run. My rod is hard against the wolf, but it is a comfort to the sheep. When I pull you back with the crook of my staff, it is not to hurt you. It is to save you from the edge. Do not fear my strength. It is the only thing standing between you and the predator. 39. You are given 2 wings of a great eagle. God provides a way of escape when the enemy pursues. In Revelation 12, the woman is given wings to fly into the wilderness to be nourished. When we are overwhelmed by life, burnout, or persecution, we feel trapped. Jesus promises that when the pressure is too high, he provides a supernatural grace to rise above the situation and find a place of nourishment, even in the desert. The crowd pressed in on Jesus, demanding miracles, draining his energy. The disciples were stressed, ready to snap. Come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest a while, Jesus invited them. But Lord, the needs are too great. We can't leave, they argued. Jesus pointed to an eagle soaring on the thermal currents above. Does the eagle struggle to fly high? No, it rests on the wind. When the dragon chases you with busyness and anxiety, I give you wings, not to run away from duty, but to soar above the chaos to find my Father's presence. You cannot serve from an empty cup. Come, fly with me, and be fed. 40. The earthquake is not the end of the world. It is the shaking of everything that is not real, so that what is real can remain. There was a great earthquake. We fear upheaval, economic crashes, divorces, societal shifts. We like stability. But Jesus teaches that shaking is sometimes necessary to expose the faulty foundations we've built on. It is a mercy that reveals what is unshakable: his kingdom. The disciples admired the massive stones of the temple. Look, teacher, what massive stones! What magnificent buildings! Jesus said, Do you see all these great buildings? Not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. They were horrified. But Jesus explained, You build your hope on systems, on politics, on money. These things can be shaken. I am shaking the earth so that you will stop clinging to the dust and start clinging to the rock. When the dust settles, only what is built on me will still be standing. Don't fear the shaking. Fear the false security. 41. Come out of Babylon, my people. This is a call to detach your heart from a system that cannot love you back. We are addicted to the world's definition of success, Babylon. We hustle, we buy, we consume, thinking it will fill us. Jesus calls us to come out, not necessarily physically, but emotionally. Stop expecting money, fame, or pleasure to save you. They are false gods that will eventually collapse. A rich young ruler asked, Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life? He had followed all the rules, but felt empty. Jesus looked at him with love. One thing you lack. Go, Sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." The man's face fell. He was a prisoner of his own wealth. Jesus turned to the poor disciples. "How hard it is for those who trust in riches to enter the kingdom. Babylon promises you everything, but takes your soul. Come out of her. Detach your heart from the gold, so your hands are free to hold the true treasure." 42. The sea of glass represents your future peace, a calm that comes after the fire has done its work. John sees a sea of glass mingled with fire. The sea is usually turbulent, but here it is still as glass. This represents a state of perfect peace and stability. The fire represents the trials we go through. Jesus encourages us that our trials are not burning us up. They are refining us into a state of solid, unshakable peace. The disciples were in the upper room, fearful and confused after the crucifixion. Their world was a storm of doubt. Jesus appeared and showed them his hands and side, the marks of the fire he had passed through. "Peace be with you," he said. "My peace I give you, not as the world gives. The world gives peace only when the war stops. I give peace in the middle of the war. Your trials are like the refiner's fire. They are burning away your fear, your ego, your doubt. When the fire is done, you will be like a sea of glass, transparent, calm, and reflecting the glory of God." 43. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. Your victory is a legal right, not a physical fight. We try to fight our demons, addiction, shame, fear, with willpower. We grit our teeth. But Revelation says victory comes by the blood of the Lamb. It's a legal verdict. The judge has declared you innocent because the price has been paid. You don't fight to get victory. You fight from a place of victory. A man possessed by demons lived in the tombs, cutting himself with stones, screaming in agony. He had tried to break the chains, but he was powerless. Jesus stepped off the boat. He didn't wrestle the man. He simply spoke a word of authority. Later, the man sat at Jesus' feet, dressed and in his right mind. Jesus told the crowd, "You try to bind the darkness with ropes and chains, but it only breaks them. The enemy is not defeated by your muscle. He is defeated by my authority. The blood I shed is the contract that evicts the darkness. You don't need to be strong. You just need to be claimed by me." 44. The new song is the melody that can only be sung by those who have been redeemed from the earth. There is a song in heaven that only the 144,000 could learn. It is the song of experience. Angels can sing of God's holiness, but they cannot sing of his redemption, because they have never been lost. Your pain, your struggle, and your rescue give you a unique song that adds a beauty to heaven that angels cannot provide. Bartimaeus, the blind beggar, sat by the roadside calling out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." The crowd tried to silence him. His voice was cracked and desperate. When he was healed, he followed Jesus, praising God with a loud voice. Jesus smiled at the disciples. "Listen to him. The angels in heaven have beautiful voices, but they cannot sing that note. That is the note of a man who was blind, but now sees. Do not be ashamed of your scars or your past. They are the lyrics of your new song. Sing it loud, for it is the most beautiful sound to my Father's ears." 45. I know your works. God sees the unseen labor, the late nights, and the silent sacrifices. To every church, Jesus says, "I know." We often feel invisible. We do good, we serve, we sacrifice, and no one says thank you. We feel unappreciated. But Jesus wants you to know that He is the God who sees. Nothing escapes His notice, and nothing will lose its reward. A woman crept into the house of a Pharisee and anointed Jesus' feet with expensive perfume and her tears. The host judged her. The disciples criticized the waste of money. No one saw her heart, except one. Jesus defended her. "Why are you bothering this woman? She has done a beautiful thing to me. You see a sinner, I see a worshipper. You see waste, I see sacrifice. Wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. I saw her when no one else did, and I see you, too, in your secret service." 46. The key of David means authority is given to the one with a servant's heart. Jesus holds the key of David. David was a shepherd boy, the least in his family, yet he became king. In our world, we think authority comes from titles and degrees. Jesus teaches that true spiritual authority comes from intimacy with God and a heart that serves. If you have the heart of David, God will give you the keys to the kingdom. James and John came to Jesus asking for the best seats in the kingdom, one on the right and one on the left. They wanted the keys to power. Jesus called them together. "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them. Not so with you. Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant." David did not seek a throne. He sought God's heart in the pasture. If you want the keys to open doors for others, you must first learn to wash their feet. 47. Buy from me gold refined in the fire. True richness is character, forged in adversity. To the rich church of Laodicea, Jesus advises them to buy real gold. We mistake a comfortable life for a blessed life, but comfort often produces weak character. Refined gold is faith that has been tested. Don't run from the fire. It is increasing your value. A storm hit the house built on sand, and the house built on rock. The rich man's house on the sand collapsed. The wise man's house stood firm. Jesus stood by the ruins. You spent your life collecting gold that melts in the fire. But look at this man. He has suffered, he has lost, but he still trusts. That trust is gold refined by fire. It is the only currency that has value in my kingdom. Do not envy the man with an easy life. Pity him, for he is poor in the things that matter. 48. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. This is the ultimate healing of trauma. This promise is repeated because it is the ultimate hope. It's not just about stopping the crying. It's about healing the source of the tears. It means God will make right everything that was wrong. He will answer the why that has haunted you for years. It is the promise of total emotional restoration. Mary and Martha were devastated by the death of Lazarus. "Lord, he stinks by now," Martha said, hopeless. The trauma of death was real and final to them. Jesus wept with them. He didn't dismiss their pain. Then he called Lazarus out. Later, as they ate together, Jesus looked at their shining faces. "I told you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God. A day is coming when I will not just raise one brother, but I will kill death itself. Every trauma, every loss, every nightmare you have endured will be wiped away like morning mist. The joy you feel now is just a foretaste." Hold on. 49. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. Intimacy is always initiated by God, but it must be reciprocated by you. We think we have to chase God, scream at God, or find God. But the picture in Revelation is of God coming to our house and knocking. He is the pursuer. But he is a gentleman. He will not kick the door down. He waits for your invitation. The handle is on the inside. It was evening. The disciples were tired, discussing the day. They didn't realize Jesus was standing right outside their conversation, waiting to be included. He said, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. I don't want to just be your teacher in the synagogue. I want to come into your home and eat with you. Eating is fellowship. Eating is friendship. Will you stop working for me long enough to sit with me? Open the door. I have brought the dinner." 50. I am the Alpha and the Omega. He is the context of your entire story. We get stuck in the middle of our story, the messy, confusing, painful middle. We panic because we don't know the ending. Jesus says, "I am the beginning and the end." He was there when you were born, and he is already at your finish line. Because he holds the bookends of your life, the middle chapters are safe in his hands. On the road to Emmaus, 2 disciples walked in sadness. They thought the story had ended in tragedy at the cross. They were stuck in the confusing middle. Jesus walked up beside them, though they didn't recognize him. He started from Moses, Alpha, and explained all the scriptures down to the present. Finally, their eyes were opened. He disappeared, but they said, "Did not our hearts burn within us?" Jesus whispers to you today, you see only this page of your life, and it looks like a tragedy. But I wrote the first chapter, and I have already written the last chapter, and I promise you it ends in Wooltree. Trust the author. Keep walking. 51. The truth is sweet to the taste, but sour to the stomach. Do not expect the gospel to only be a comfort. It is also a disruption. In Revelation 10, John is told to eat a scroll. It tastes like honey, but turns his stomach sour. We often want a sugar-coated faith that only promises blessings. But Jesus teaches that truth must be digested. It is sweet because it saves us, but sour because it challenges our comfort, demands change, and puts us at odds with the world. A wealthy merchant listened to Jesus preach about the kingdom. He loved the idea of eternal life, the sweet, but he hated the idea of giving up his greed, the sour. Jesus saw his internal conflict. You roll the words around in your tongue like candy, but you spit them out when they reach your heart. My words are not just honey, they are medicine. Medicine often tastes bitter or upsets the stomach before it cures the disease. Do not just taste the promise, digest the responsibility. That is the only way to be healed. 52. Cast your crowns before the throne, for the only way to keep a victory is to give it back to the one who gave it to you. The 24 elders fall down and cast their crowns before God. In our world, we fight to keep our crowns, our titles, our achievements, our reputation. We cling to credit. Jesus teaches the ultimate act of humility, acknowledging that every win, every talent, and every breath comes from God. Holding on to glory makes you heavy, releasing it sets you free. The disciples returned from a mission, ecstatic. Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name. They were wearing their success like a crown, proud of their spiritual power. Jesus smiled but corrected their focus. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Why? Because of pride. Do not rejoice that the spirits submit to you. Rejoice that your names are written in heaven. Your power is a loan, not an ownership. If you keep the crown on your head, it will become a heavy burden. Throw it at my feet, and you will find rest. 53. In the city there is no night. Stop looking for artificial lights to navigate your life when the Sun of Righteousness has risen. We spend our lives looking for artificial lights to guide us, expert opinions, social trends, horoscopes, human logic. But the New Jerusalem needs no lamp, because the glory of God gives it light. Jesus invites us to turn off the flickering candles of worldly wisdom and walk in the noonday sun of his presence. Nicodemus came to Jesus at night, bringing his scrolls of law and logic. He was a scholar, yet he was walking in the dark. "Rabbi, we know you are a teacher," he began. Jesus cut through the small talk. "Nicodemus, you are trying to study God by candlelight. You are analyzing the wind. But you need to be born again to see the light. When the sun rises, do you still need your candle? I am the light of the world. Stop squinting at the shadows of the law and look at the source. Walk in the light, and you will never stumble." 54. The river of life flows from the throne. If your life feels stagnant, check your connection to the source. Revelation depicts a river of water of life, clear as crystal, flowing from the throne. Many of us feel spiritually stagnant, like a pond covered in algae. We are stuck. Jesus teaches that life is meant to flow. If you are dry, it's not because the river stopped. It's because you built a dam of sin, fear, or unforgiveness. On the last day of the feast, Jesus watched the priests pouring water from golden pitchers, a ritual that left the ground dry minutes later. The people were thirsty for something real. He cried out, "He who believes in me, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water." You are trying to store water in broken cisterns. You are trying to survive on yesterday's rain. Come to me. The river doesn't just flow to you. It must flow through you. Break the dam of your pride and let the river run. 55. The two witnesses stand against the tide. You are called to be a voice, not an echo. In Revelation 11, two witnesses stand against the whole world. We are terrified of being different. We want to blend in, to be an echo of the culture. But Jesus calls us to be a voice. Even if you are the minority, even if you stand alone at your workplace or in your family, the power of God rests on those who refuse to compromise. Peter followed Jesus at a distance, warming his hands by the fire of the enemy, trying to blend in so he wouldn't be caught. Later, the resurrected Jesus met him. "Simon, are you comfortable by the fire? An echo fades, but a voice shakes the earth. I am calling you to speak what is true, even if the whole world screams a lie. Do not fear their faces. Two men standing with God are the majority against an entire empire." 56. The rainbow around the throne is a promise that mercy encircles judgment. John sees a rainbow around the throne, like an emerald. In a book full of thunder and lightning, this rainbow is vital. It reminds us that God's covenant of mercy is the boundary of His power. Even when life feels like a storm of judgment, Jesus reminds us that we are encircled by a promise that will not be broken. A storm had just passed over Galilee, leaving the sky dark and the earth muddy. The people were afraid of the thunder. Jesus pointed to a rainbow arching over the hills. "Do you remember Noah? The world was washed clean, but God promised mercy. You feel the thunder of life and think God is attacking you. Look up. Before you see the lightning of his power, you must pass through the rainbow of his promise. His mercy surrounds his throne. You are safe within the circle of his love. 57. Come up here. You cannot solve earthly problems with an earthly perspective. You need an elevation. When John is overwhelmed, the voice says, "Come up here." We try to solve our anxiety by staring at the problem. We overthink. Jesus teaches that the solution is a change of altitude. When you view your giant problems from the throne room, they look like grasshoppers. Worship elevates your perspective. The disciples were arguing about bread. They had forgotten to bring enough. They were stressed about logistics, focused on their empty baskets. Jesus sighed. Why do you discuss the fact that you have no bread? Do you still not understand? Come up higher. Remember the 5 loaves and the 5,000. You are looking at the problem from the ground level of scarcity. I want you to see from the heaven level of abundance. Stop looking at the basket. Look at the provider. 58. The golden bowls of wrath are poured out on evil, proving that God is not indifferent to your suffering. We see injustice, trafficking, abuse, corruption, and ask, God, why do you do nothing? The bowls of wrath are God's answer. He is bottling up his anger against the things that hurt his children. Jesus assures us that evil has an expiration date. Justice is not missing. It is just pending. A group of Galileans had been murdered by Pilate. The people were angry and terrified, asking where God was. Jesus addressed the fear. Do you think those Galileans were worse sinners? No, but do not think God is blind. He stores the tears of the innocent in his bottle. There is a day coming when the bowl will tip. Evil will not rule forever. The judge is standing at the door. Your job is not to take revenge. Your job is to trust that justice belongs to me. 59. They did not love their lives to the death. Freedom is found when you lose the fear of losing. The ultimate weapon of the enemy is the fear of death, or loss of money, status, comfort. The martyrs in Revelation overcame because they simply didn't care about losing their lives. Jesus teaches a radical truth. You are only truly invincible when you have nothing left to lose because you have already given it all to him. A young man wanted to follow Jesus but asked, Lord, let me first go and bury my father, meaning he wanted to wait for his inheritance and security. Jesus replied, Follow me, and let the dead bury their own dead. You are afraid to lose your safety net. But listen, he who seeks to save his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it. The enemy cannot threaten a man who is already dead to the world. Let go of the life you are clutching, and I will give you a life that cannot be taken away. 60. The harvest is coming. Your labor is not in vain, even if the field looks empty right now. Revelation 14 shows the earth being harvested. We work, we pray, we serve, and often see zero results. We feel like giving up. Jesus reminds us that there is a set time for reaping. The seed is growing underground where you can't see it. Do not drop your sickle just before the harvest is ripe. Jesus sat by a well in Samaria. The disciples went to buy food. He ministered to one woman, and she ran to tell the town. When the disciples returned, Jesus pointed to the fields. You say, 4 months more and then the harvest. I tell you, open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest. You see only dirt. I see the grain. Never underestimate the power of one seed planted in faith. What you are doing today in secret will yield a harvest that history will record. 61. I saw no temple in the city. Religion is a map. Intimacy is the destination. John is shocked to see no temple in the New Jerusalem. For a Jew, the temple was everything. But the temple was just a symbol, a meeting place. Jesus teaches that the goal is not to be religious, going to a building, but to be so close to God that you become the meeting place. The map is not needed when you have arrived home. The Pharisees criticized Jesus' disciples for not washing their hands according to the ritual and for picking grain on the Sabbath. They were obsessed with the temple rules. Jesus walked through the grain fields, free and unburdened. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. One greater than the temple is here. You are obsessed with the shadows on the wall, but the person casting the shadow is standing before you. Stop worshipping the ritual and start knowing the Lord of the ritual. 62. The Book of Life is the only registry that matters. Stop trying to get your name on the who's who list of the world. We crave recognition. We want to be verified, listed, honored. We fear being cancelled or forgotten. Jesus tells us there is only one book that matters. If your name is there, it doesn't matter if the world doesn't know who you are. You are famous in heaven. The 72 disciples returned with joy. Lord, even the demons submit to us. They were excited about their fame and power. Jesus replied, I saw Satan fall like lightning. But do not rejoice that the spirits submit to you. Rejoice that your names are written in heaven. The world's applause fades like the grass. The history books of Rome will burn. But the book of life is eternal. It is better to be unknown on earth and known in heaven than to be a king on earth and a stranger to God. 63. He who has an ear, let him hear. Truth is broadcast to everyone, but only the tuned-in heart receives it. This phrase appears 7 times. It implies that spiritual hearing is a choice. God is speaking constantly, through pain, through joy, through Scripture. But we are often tuned to the frequency of our own worries. Jesus invites us to dial down the noise of the world to catch the whisper of the Spirit. Jesus told the parable of the sower. The seed fell on different soils. The crowd listened, but few understood. Later, alone with the disciples, he explained, To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom, but to them it is not given. Why? Because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear. Their hearts have grown dull. God is broadcasting, but your antenna is down. Tune your heart to humility, and suddenly the static will clear, and you will hear the voice of the shepherd. 64. The great white throne is the great equalizer. In the end, there are no kings or slaves, only souls. John sees the dead, great and small, standing before the throne. Death strips away all our costumes. The CEO and the janitor stand on the same level ground. Jesus teaches us to live with this perspective. Treat people not according to their title, but according to their eternal value. A centurion came to Jesus asking for help for his servant. A Roman officer asking a Jewish rabbi for help for a slave. It broke all social protocols. Jesus marveled at him. I have not found such great faith even in Israel. He turned to the crowd. Many will come from the east and the west and take their places at the feast, while the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown out. In the end, God does not look at the rank on your shoulder. He looks at the faith in your heart. The ground is level at the foot of the cross. 65. They will see his face. The ultimate reward is not golden streets, but the face of the Father. We often think of heaven as a place of luxury, gold, pearls, mansions. That is a childish view. The climax of Revelation is seeing his face, Visio Dei. The greatest joy of the human soul is connection with its Creator. Jesus teaches that the prize is not what God gives, but God himself. Philip said, "Lord, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us." He wanted a mystical vision, a spectacle. Jesus answered, "Don't you know me, Philip, even after I have been among you such a long time? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. You are looking for a spectacle, but I am offering a relationship. The beatific vision is not a light show. It is the face of love looking back at you. That is what your soul has been hunting for since you were born." 66. The silence of the abyss is the destiny of noise. The song of the Lamb is the destiny of the faithful. Babylon is noisy, music, commerce, shouting. But in the end, the sound of a harpist shall be heard in you no more. The world's noise will be silenced, but the song of the Lamb goes on forever. Jesus invites us to stop building our lives on the noise of distraction and start learning the melody of eternity. At a wedding in Cana, the wine ran out. The party was about to stop. The noise of celebration was turning into the murmur of embarrassment. Jesus turned water into wine, the best wine saved for last. He whispered a truth through the miracle. The world gives its best first, and then the cheap stuff, and then the headache. I save the best for last. The world's party ends in snance and regret. My party is just getting started. Do not live for the noise that fades. Live for the joy that deepens. 67. The nations will walk by its light. God's plan is not just for you, but for the healing of cultures and systems. We often privatize our faith, me and Jesus. But Revelation shows nations walking in God's light, kings bringing their splendor. Jesus has a vision for redeeming cultures, arts, and societies. Your work in business, art, or education is not secular. It is a way to bring the light of the city into the darkened nations. Jesus stood on a mountain in Galilee and gave the Great Commission, "Go and make disciples of all nations." He didn't say make disciples of individuals only. He looked at the fishermen and tax collectors. You think your job is just to catch fish or count coins? No. You are kingdom builders. You are the salt of the earth. Salt doesn't stay in the shaker. It goes into the meat to preserve it. Go into your cities, your markets, your schools. Bring the culture of heaven down to earth. The nations are waiting for your light. 68. The measuring reed establishes boundaries. You cannot grow if you do not know where you end, and God begins. John is given a reed to measure the temple. Boundaries define ownership and responsibility. We get anxious because we try to control things outside our boundary, other people, the future, the past. Jesus teaches us to measure our own heart, that is our territory, and leave the rest to God. A man in the crowd shouted, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." He wanted Jesus to fix his brother. Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" Then he warned, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed." Jesus was saying, I am not here to measure your brother's actions. I am here to measure your heart. You are trying to control your brother's boundary. Stop. Focus on your own soul. That is the only temple you are responsible for keeping clean. 69. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. The final warning is about focus. Though this is from John's epistle, it echoes the theme of Revelation, avoiding the idolatry of the beast. An idol is anything you trust more than God to give you peace. It could be your savings account, your spouse, or your political party. Jesus calls for a singular focus, because a divided eye leads to a dark body. A young man asked Jesus which commandment was the greatest. Jesus didn't hesitate. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. He continued, You cannot serve two masters. You cannot bow to the beast of mammon and the Lamb of God. An idol is anything that screams, I can make you happy, louder than I do. Smash your idols before they smash you. Keep your eyes on me, and your whole body will be full of light. 70. Surely I am coming quickly. Live with the urgency of a traveler who is almost home. The last words of Jesus in the Bible are a promise of return. This isn't to make us panic, but to make us prioritize. If you knew a guest was arriving in 10 minutes, you would clean the house instantly. You wouldn't waste time on trivial things. Living with the end in mind clarifies what is truly important today. Jesus told a parable. It is like a man going away on a journey who left his house and put his servants in charge, and commanded the doorkeeper to stay awake. He looked at his sleepy disciples. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know when the owner of the house will come back. Do not let him find you sleeping. Live ready. Love deeply. Forgive quickly. Work diligently. Because the night is almost over, and the dawn is breaking. I am at the door. We have journeyed through 70 philosophies, 70 windows into the heart of God. But remember, Revelation is not just a book to be studied. It is a lifestyle to be lived. It calls us to stop looking for the Antichrist in the shadows and start looking for the Christ in the light. It invites us to exchange our panic for his peace and our fear for his victory. The book is open, the seals are broken, and the King is closer than you think. If these words have spoken to your spirit today, do not let the moment pass. You are not here by accident. You are here because you are hungry for the truth. Click that subscribe button right now and ring the bell. By doing so, you are not just joining a channel. You are joining a global community of believers who are choosing faith over fear. We are unveiling new mysteries every week, and I don't want you to miss a single one. I want to hear from you. Which philosophy touched your heart the most today? Or, if you are ready to walk in this new confidence, simply write, I am ready in the comments below. Let that be your declaration to the world that you are no longer a prisoner of anxiety, but a warrior of hope. Thank you for watching. Remember, the night is far spent, the day is at hand. Until next time, keep your eyes on the morning star. This is Revelation in Prophecy, unveiling the divine mysteries. God bless you.